Hello, everyone. How are we today? It's so nice to see you guys. We have about 15 people in the room. I see Chloe from Bright Pearl. Hi, Chloe. And a few others that I don't recognize the name. We got a Margarita, Hannah, Dominique, Alex. So good crowd here. And we'll wait a couple minutes before everyone joins. I am going to pass out an Uber Eats voucher. You can grab that for tonight. It expires before tonight. Definitely email me if it doesn't work, but it should work for today. We added a certain amount of Amber vouchers so that you guys can all grab it. We also created a poll that said, how excited are you to be here? So if you have a moment, just please click on one of the two that we have. You just have to toggle over to the polls and cast your vote just to make it fun. Thanks to the InSocial team. Perfect.
Thanks for noticing, Deb.
Extremely and very. There we go. All right, we don't have too much webinar fatigue, or maybe we haven't eaten anything for so long. That's not healthy. Oh no, we lost Jess.
She's coming back on.
Okay, no worries. Perfect. We got a fun crew today.
Yeah, it was your fault, Deb. Yeah, we know.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, whoever just joined, the Uber Eats gift card again is here. I think we can go ahead and get started. We'll kind of start with introductions. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So one question, and then we have another poll that InSocial had a question about. So my name's Nicole. I run strategic partnerships at Gorgias. I manage most of our agency partnerships, so I get the chance to work with the lovely Sarah and Jessica all the time. Really, my background comes from a D2C space. So I was working in a startup before that allowed me to work with lots of D2C brands. And then COVID hit, so the startup obviously flopped a little bit, and now we're back at it. And I asked my network who to work with, and they said Gorgias. So super happy to be here. Love the team. And then Jess, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Sarah will hear from you after?
Cool.
Sure. Do you have the slide
yes.
that we put together of who we are? Let's put that up. So while Nicole does that, I'm Jess. I'm the founder and CEO of InSocial, and I have with me Sarah McCullough, who is our customer service and community manager. So I personally have been in digital marketing I said this the other day, for like 16 years. And I know I look really young, and I've been in digital marketing since I was basically 16. So it's been a long time. I started InSocial 5 years ago, actually, this month, essentially. Started out kind of freelancing and ended up with more work than I could handle and had to hire people. And here we are 5 years later. So I'll talk about that. If you want to go to the next slide, I can show a little bit about what we do.
For sure. And then Sarah, if you want to just quickly give your intro as well after.
No problem.
Awesome. So just a quick overview of who we are at InSocial. We are a full service digital marketing agency. So we do everything related. So we're talking like organic, paid social, website design and development, email marketing and automation, all of that. But a keystone of what we do, and which is actually really only started in the last 2 years, is our customer service team, as we have gone more into the e-commerce niche. So I found Sarah to kind of lead this team. I don't know anyone who, if you don't know Good Life, the big gym franchise here, I used to go every morning, 6 a.m. for my spin class, and Sarah was always there with this bright smile on her face. She was always ready to help. And whenever I had issues, which sometimes there were a lot, she would handle them immediately as soon as I met her that I needed her on my team. So Sarah, why don't you tell everyone about your previous experience?
Yeah, so I was a supervisor previously to working with InSocial. And everything that I learned in that position, I was able to apply to digital customer service. So it's been a really interesting opportunity. And both Jess and I, we connected with our passion for customer service, just like getting stuff done, taking care of business. And we've been a great team ever since. So I've been with the team for about a year now. It's been really great.
Yeah. So it's almost a year, like in 2 weeks. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, and I just want to,
Cool. And if you want to,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope. Go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, I was saying, I just want to piggyback off that. I think it's really amazing to meet two people who are so obsessed with customer service, because I think it is really core of businesses nowadays as we're moving online. And we'll kind of talk about that in this entire session and why that is so important, especially for brands as they're moving more online every single day and just becoming so digitized that differentiating yourself can be a little bit harder than normally, especially given this last crazy year. And I think just another quick poll that I just published is, do you handle your customer service in-house or do you outsource? So I just published that. So if you guys can vote there, it would be great for us to kind of understand and gather that information. It sounds like 8 people are extremely excited to be here, so that's awesome. I'm sure it's because of
only
us.
8.
Yeah, seriously. And then if you want to just kind of tell us, why you guys really differentiate from most other digital agencies, I think that would be really helpful as well as we gather all those votes.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So I actually have my master's degree from NYU in digital marketing and business. And I started off in the startup space in New York and kind of came to Toronto in the startup space and ended up in the digital agency space and really saw everything from both sides and realized that you really do need that business background. There's a lot of people that come out and say, oh, I know how to write content. I know how to, create nice graphics and answer emails, but there's really, an underlying business intelligence that you need to have to successfully run an agency and for that agency to then help you run your businesses. So a big piece of that is we know how business works, whether you're in e-commerce or you're in, a B2B play, like we kind of know both ends. And we really think about the big picture. So it's not just about what we're doing this next month. We really do plan months and months in advance, and we think about the implications of the things that we do. And Sarah will talk a little bit about our customer service protocols. But when we set our clients up on Gorgias, we ask them questions where it's like, where is this going? How are we going to scale this? And oftentimes they're like, I have like 4 emails coming in a day. And we're like, trust us, we have to think ahead. And so we really think that way. We also really focus on results. You're paying us to help you. And if we're not generating revenue for you, then I'm going to tell you not to pay us because it doesn't make sense, right? And obviously we love our clients, and we really look for clients who know what they're doing so that we can combine with what we're doing as well and just be a great team. We do also do everything from scratch. Like we have our own best practices, we have our own templates, we have our own strategies, but we're always creating custom solutions, whether it's, macros that are very specific to you or processes that, have nuances to them based on your business. And realistically, we're very cheap considering what's out there. So, that's kind of how I've built the business. And then on the side, you see the different teams that we have at InSocial. And then on the side, you've got our customer service and community management team, which is what Sarah manages for us.
Awesome. And I think we gathered a lot of the polls. So 5 people are managing it in-house and 1 person is outsourcing. I think that's super interesting to learn and to know, to kind of understand, the whys behind that. If anyone ever wants to share, throughout, just feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll also have a Q&A bit at the end, and we can also invite you on stage, not to scare you. But I think really getting into, why customer support is so important. And, if you are managing it in-house, I think that's also still really great. I think you just need to understand if you're really optimizing that in-house right now. So, are you using a tool that helps you and enables you to respond to tickets in a more meaningful way without a heavy lift on your end, so that support kind of becomes this sales channel versus becoming this, I just need to get through my tickets every day and just ticket by ticket. So what we're going to look at here is last year we saw a huge, almost 100% increase in support volume for the Q4 period. I think, with this trend already, I'm going to, ask you guys, have you already seen a spike in sales, I published another poll. We love polls. And understanding, are you seeing the spike already? Because we've already heard that, as Prime Day got moved earlier, same with, Walmart telling them they're going to have sales earlier, and all these different big retailers are coming out saying they're just going to have a 3 or 4 month period of sales. That is exactly what we think is going to be the trend for a lot of these different online platforms. And I think layering COVID on top of that, what we saw there is beginning of March. I don't think anyone will ever forget that week. We saw an initial decrease in orders, and then we saw a huge spike, almost a 2x to 3x increase in support volume as well as sales. That's kind of the general feedback we got from our partners, from our brands. Also, as a company ourselves, we just saw a huge spike in the customers we even had, because everyone was looking for a tool or a platform that they could really manage their support through. A lot of these support inquiries were related to supply chain issues. So order status, returns, pre-order, which tells you that a lot of these tasks are actually repetitive. So a lot of these questions are very repetitive. When you're getting back to those customers, they're almost as important as, gathering your own customers through ad spend, because they're the ones that are engaging with you head on. You actually now have engagement with that customer. So customer support is, again, super important. And how are we going to manage this? So what we saw is while the tickets increased by channel, active users actually stayed the same, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but that does show that there's a bottleneck and that you have to have the right tools in place, implement the right people, but also implement the right software. So maybe that's pairing with automation, which we'll get into later in this presentation, to make sure that you're responding to those repetitive tasks. Maybe it's hiring the right team to help you set something like this up, or hiring more people. But again, making sure that you understand their options and what's out there is going to be super important to understanding how you can have a really successful approach to tackling the holiday period. And as I kind of discussed, Black Friday, Cyber Monday is getting really crazy. It already started. If you're already seeing sales, I think we have about a 50-50 split between October sales. And we do expect this growth to continue to increase. And then as we see, Hannah just shared, not particularly in October, but steady growth since March. I think that's, again, consistent with the trend. Online isn't going anywhere. If anything, it just moved us further along. So definitely want you guys and encourage you guys to understand kind of what's out there. So how do we prepare your support team for all this craziness, right? I think, in social, you guys have such a great feedback and background on how to really prepare your team, since you guys have done the Gorgias setup multiple times. You guys directly in line with what we do, but also have so many other best practices. So really excited to hear you share those, so that the audience can kind of understand what to do, within this next stage of growth.
Awesome. Well, just quickly to your point, Nicole, with, the sales spike, we even saw that at our agency, where at first everyone was kind of like, we need to pause everything. Like, we had clients that were like, I will get back to you. And everyone paused for like about a month. And then our lead generation just skyrocketed, being like, I need to be online. I even had clients who we've already been working with for years who kind of pushed the online to the side, who were like, how quickly can you get me a website? And it's like, well, we've got 3. So, if you had done this a couple of weeks ago, we could have been ahead of the game. But it's just, we saw that too from the B2B side, which is really interesting. But anyway, talking about how to prepare your support team for Q4. So, some of you, it looks like you are seeing an increase in sales. And I do want to preface that all the things we're going to talk about today, there are specifics to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but really we want to touch on just how we approach customer service. And it really is, useful across all time. And, the volume may change, but our best practices really are whenever you have them going. So I'll dive right in, and then Sarah's going to hop in between with her examples. We have real live examples to tell you. And if you have questions about those examples or any of the things that we're saying, feel free to hop into the chat and just ask them as I go along. Don't worry about that. So the first thing you have to do, especially as we come up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, is audit or prepare your macros. So for anyone who doesn't know what a macro is, it's having a pre-written response that you can slide in and then just click to have it send to your customers. The great thing about Gorgias is you can actually build them with merge fields, so that a lot of the data comes in and is personalized per person, and we love that. We have used other tools where it doesn't do that, and there's a lot of extra time like pulling the information from multiple browsers. So that really does save a lot of time. So if you don't have them, spend the time now going through your business processes, looking through your existing tickets and seeing what those repetitive questions are. When you work with us, we already have macros that we know you need, but we'll also audit what's already going on to see, oh, well, this question gets asked at least twice a week. We'll make a macro out of it. The other thing is to prepare them for Black Friday, because a lot of the time things are going to change. You may be offering a bundle that you never had before. You may be offering a really deep discount that's very different. You may know that you're already going to have supply chain issues or shipping issues. Like pretty much all of COVID has had shipping issues. But really preparing your macros to say, instead of, oh, expected in 2 weeks, you may have to have a macro say, you know what, wait 3 weeks, and you'll have to go back and change what you've already had because the situation's a little bit different. So now is really the time to do that. And then think about, are gift cards going to be an issue? Are people going to be buying a lot of them? Gift cards in themselves are very complicated, especially depending on what system you use, hopefully Shopify. But gift cards are kind of their own world of questions that people have. So if you don't have macros for those set up, it's definitely time to start thinking about it. So Sarah, why don't you tell us our example for this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Thigh Society, we had actually over time, we've built out over 100 macros. It was quite an extensive business document. Obviously, when you start off, you're going to prepare as much as possible, but over time that's going to increase, especially when you have various scenarios that you want the macros to branch off into. We also, when we're talking about auditing macros before a sale, we would go back and make sure that everything is still up to date. That should be happening on an ongoing basis. But if you feel like you haven't been able to do that, definitely do it before a sale, because you will not have time to edit them when the tickets start coming through. We also discuss scenarios that are specific to region. So sometimes our macros would be different for Canadian customers versus US customers. But the most important aspect of this is to make sales-specific macros, including chat-specific macros, considering that tickets and chats have different formatting when it comes to how you're writing. So do that if you haven't already, or let us know if you need help with that. But definitely brief your team, everyone that's involved in responding to tickets, on what you've updated. So by the time Black Friday, Cyber Monday comes, everyone's in the know.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. So the next one is use data. So Gorgias has a data platform. I don't know if you've had a chance to look through it, but it actually will calculate your busiest time of the day. It'll show you how many tickets are coming in. And there's a good chance, especially for those who are seeing more sales now, that you're already starting to see that data come in. One of the big things is if you already know that your busiest day is Monday, and you don't have coverage on the weekend, a lot of businesses, especially the ones we work with, they don't really want us to be on the weekend. They don't want to pay for the weekend. But then what that means is our Mondays get really busy, and that's fine. But if you're already getting a really busy Saturday, Sunday, it's going to throw off the rest of the week. So now is the time to really analyze when things are happening. If it gets really busy on Friday, you don't really want to leave people hanging from Friday to Monday. Maybe ask a staff member to stay on Saturday. But don't just make these suggestions up. Really look at what it's telling you and build out a plan, especially during Black Friday, like that weekend, and then actually the 2 weeks, potentially even 3 again, depending on the shipping issues after the fact. So really leverage that platform. And I know, Sarah, you have another example for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this, we tend to use the busiest times of the week statistic to anticipate if we might need more coverage or when we might need more coverage. So we work with Demystify, and they actually have a lot of customers following up with them on the weekend. We've been seeing that consistently over the past few months. So as we're preparing for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we went to our client and said, hey, we think because we're already seeing that the weekend needs extra coverage, by the time this sale happens, we're probably going to need even more. So we're basically doubling down, looking at the trends, and then applying our coverage based on those trends, and also incorporating shift work, considering that people might be reaching out after our business hours on the Friday. So we're going to be having someone stay late that day, as well as the weekend, as well as late on the Monday. So really just having all bases covered.
Awesome. So the next one is mimic the retail experience. So especially now where people are avoiding malls and they're not going into stores, there's that element of the retail experience that's missing. Like, I actually really like going into stores and looking at the products, feeling them, and talking to the reps that are in the store about what I might be purchasing. But now that's kind of gone. But it doesn't mean it has to be gone, because Gorgias has a really good way of using chat to actually engage with the customer, and as if you're there. Obviously, it's not going to be the exact same, but really utilize it. Figure out how you can use it in your customer service toolkit. We'll talk a little bit about more of it later, but it's really the time to start preparing. Like, just maybe it's worth throwing in the chat, like flipping it on if you don't already have it, and see what comes in. And then again, start preparing those macros, start planning for how this is going to work. Chat is a really, really big piece of that for sure. And I know Sarah has an example.
Yeah, so a lot of times customers, specifically with Lean Joe Bean, they have multiple products. This is a weight loss coffee. So people, they have specific needs when it comes to their goals. So normally when a chat comes in, we'll ask them more about themselves, what their goals are, and kind of have a casual conversation before we suggest the best product for them. And this also lessens the amount of time that you would spend post-purchase if they did purchase the wrong product. So this just gives the customer an opportunity to ask questions in advance, which has been great for us so far.
Yeah, especially with Lean Joe Bean, because it has two very similar products, but the ingredients are quite different, and it is health related, you know, so people are a little nervous, and we need to help walk them through that. So the other one, the last one for getting ready for Q4, is training your staff, whether it's in-house or even outsourced. You know, we make sure that we are speaking to our clients. We have meetings. We go through what might be changing, and we need to train ourselves too. If a client is offering a completely new product, even if it's not during Black Friday, whenever it is, we need to train ourselves. But if you haven't really trained anyone yet, and you're kind of maybe doing the tickets yourself, or you know, have an intern doing it, or you do have someone at your warehouse, or maybe a marketing person, you know, this is the time to really make sure that you are prepared for the influx that is going to come if you know, things are done properly. So training is key. And I actually have an example for this one. I loved the guys at Carnivore Club. We don't work with them anymore because they got bought out, which I will say was a little bit because of our help. But we actually took them over 2 years ago, mid-October. Like, I'm talking right before the holiday blitz was about to happen. And we came in with about 500 unread emails. Many of them were about 15 duplicate emails of the same person, because they hadn't trained their own staff to do the tickets properly. There was people angry, packages were missing. It was very confusing. They actually had one team member who was in the Philippines, freelance. She was on at night. She didn't really speak English that well, and she didn't know enough about how the product was. It was a subscription box of meat. So there was a very specific timeline that you had to order by. And if you missed that timeline, you know, you would get your next order. And it was very nuanced. And unfortunately, the girl in the Philippines couldn't really articulate that very well. So then during working hours in you know, our side of the world, they had another freelancer who had a little bit more access to the systems in place, but she wasn't allowed to do refunds. She wasn't able to look into customer orders. All she could do was kind of just keep responding. And the two of them would talk, but nothing would actually come out of that. What would end up happening is there'd be a long document of to-dos, of things that would have to be done to fix all these tickets. So we came in and got rid of that, you know, bulk, and really built a process where our team was trained on the product, trained on each one. Every month it was a different group of meat. So every month we had to learn what that meat was about. We had to make sure we knew inside and out how the subscription worked for the customer and on the back end. They weren't on Shopify at that time. If anyone knows Magento, you probably know how insane it was to deal with. It's not a great platform. So we had to do that. We had to train, and we had to do that so fast in order for Black Friday. And we were able to clear out all of the tickets before Black Friday came. And then it just skyrocketed back up, but there weren't duplicate tickets. It was, you know, one and done, maybe one or two. And so it really my staff and with the help of them, we were really able to understand the process, build a process in place, but we took the time to understand what was going on so that we could solve the problems better. So, a good idea for you, especially if you're doing it in-house, is go into the tickets, see how your team is responding to questions, and identify where you might need to, educate them a little bit or retrain them on certain instances that they may have gotten confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's for this.
Yeah, I think you guys hit on such good points and such a, you have the best experience to kind of explain, how to handle this because you've been in it day in, day out, sitting with the brands, building them from the ground up. And I think that's, again, super important to share. And I love that you guys had 4 different stories to share because I think that helps you put into context, what kind of companies you work with and, what to expect. And that, smaller companies can do this too, as well as bigger companies might not be thinking about this as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Hannah had a great question. How do you label macros for different channels? We have a system, but I'm curious if there is something better. You can definitely create macros by channel type. You can also create views by channel type. So it's really up to you, however you'd like to respond. I would say the more consistent, the better. But you can, of course, choose that at least in Gorgias from that backend to make sure that it's really easily accessible for your agents or for yourself if you're managing it all. And let's get into kind of what a macro looks like. I think, we talk a lot about them. And so, for example, here, this is an example from our team is these highlighted fields that you see here. These are all variables that you can pull in from Shopify specifically, Magento and BigCommerce. I know we just talked about Magento, but we work with them as well. And so these are the different variables that we kind of grab from Shopify in this example specifically without losing your personalization. So here you see, thank you for your order. It's been dispatched. So those where is my order questions, the number 1 most asked for question, no longer have to respond to everyone individually, copy and paste different items, move between tabs. You have it all in front of you. So it auto-populates, pulls in their information. Now, the other piece that I think is so great is what you're doing is you're actually showing them how many smile points they have left. So how many loyalty points they have and driving them back to your website. So it's an upselling opportunity. You don't just leave them with a confirmation email, but there's a nice best practice to sign it off with that redeeming their points. And then you also sign it off with the happiness department. So again, keeping that personalization is, again, super key without having to have you spend too much time managing those inquiries that come in. And for everyone that's joining, I know we had a few people join late. Make sure you take advantage of the lunch. I also think we had a few more. So I created a second voucher and I'll share that at the end, probably for Jess and Sarah, since you guys are currently presenting and can't order. But I'll send it just for the ones that haven't already redeemed theirs. Perfect. So automate replies to common questions. So when we talk about these automations, it's really pretty straightforward to set up. Gorgias helps you set this up, but Jess and Sarah have their own technique as well with insocial. So there's definitely a lot of partners we work with that have their own way of setting up the accounts. So when a ticket is created, if the message intent contains shipping status, so what we mean with our machine learning is we've actually put it through thousands of tickets to understand exactly what the customer is saying. So tons of Shopify, ton of e-commerce questions have all been specially chosen to understand, what is the intention of the customer? So is it shipping status? Is it return related? And then you can kind of create these variables about, if they've ordered within 10, 15 days, if the order is within transit, then reply to ticket, hey, this is your Wizmo tracking information, which again allows you to kind of respond to this ticket in a really accurate way, but also in an efficient way, and then sign off however you'd like it to, so you're not losing your branding. Using tags to identify trends, I think this is, again, super important. As we see here, a lot of the different things that get tagged are actually indicators of what's going on in your support team. So what is something you can improve on? Is it about replacing items? Have a lot of them been damaged? Maybe check with your distribution, your warehouse to understand what's going on with them. Urgent tickets, post-sale, damaged, defective, again, will kind of help you identify what these tickets are about. And you can automatically tag those. That does not mean you have to manually tag them, which will allow you to understand what to do with your support team in a quicker and in a more efficient manner. The other piece we have is auto assign to the right team. So you can actually now view different views by team. So sales team and support team, or the social team. If you want them all to be 3 separate teams, you can create specific views that only they have access to so that they're not checking out different views, they're not clicking accidentally, and you can give them access to whatever you want them to, as well as the right admin rights as well. So again, super straightforward to allow you to kind of make sure that you're managing your teams. Getting the right staffing, I think this is, again, super important. So you do expect an 80% gross support volume. Tickets are going to process around 80 tickets a day, which, again, is a huge spike. I think, one, you can look at combination with a platform like Gorgias to kind of help you offset a lot of those repetitive inquiries. But you can also work with outsourcing partners as well that are relatively fair price so that you're not spending too much money on items like this, but also accurately getting to these customers, because that retention that you're getting with them is going to be so much more important than just spending so much money on just acquiring new customers, because your current customers are almost, if not more important than acquiring new customers. So yeah, let's talk about how to get the right staffing and what the benefits of both are. And Jess, I'll let you take that away on your end.
Awesome. Thank you. So just on the macro and the tagging piece, we love that Gorgias helps set it up. It definitely saves us time. What we love to do is, as a second step when we're starting to work with a client, is dive a little bit deeper into our best practices and their business, a little bit into the warehouse, into the products, and we tweak it a little bit. So definitely a great place to start with them, and then we take it from there. So it's a great team. And Nicole and Sarah and I have a Slack channel, so we just talk to each other. If there's any questions, like, we can just ask Nicole what she was doing, and we can tell her what we tweaked. So it's good partnership there. So just in terms of the right staffing, so if it's in-house or outsourced, there's obviously pros and cons of both. In-house, you have someone who's literally part of your team. They know everything about your business. They're always there. They're always available. The downside of that is, it might be 1 or 2 people. You have to pay them full time usually, or, they become employees and you take on that liability. And there's a lot less flexibility in terms of the hours. So when you have an outsourced team like ours, we have multiple staff members. They're all based in Canada. They're actually all based in North York, Toronto. We don't outsource to India. I'm very particular about making sure I'm hiring local talent who, are trained in the English language. A lot of people tend to go outside for cheaper pricing, but as I mentioned in the Carnivore Club example, that usually just ends up costing you more. So the upside of outsourcing is you have multiple team members who can be available whenever, but you're not paying those full staff, but there's more coverage on that. The downside is, it could be a little bit more expensive depending on your ticket volume. So, it's just a balance, and we're happy to discuss the options with you. But either way, how do we prepare for Q4, for Black Friday? You need to hire now. Like, it takes at least 2 weeks to really find whether it's an in-house person that you want to hire or even an outsourced team. You need to talk to them, you need to vet them, you need to ask questions, have interviews. And, we're already in the first week of November, so it's coming fast. If you're on the fence about it, you probably need to do it, and you need to start thinking about it now. Training now as well, as we mentioned. It seems like Black Friday is kind of far away, but it's really not. Especially, again, if there's new products, new processes, spend the time now to get together with everyone and go through everything, refresh them, whether, again, it's an agency or in-house. Just make sure that what they have now is solid, so that when it gets crazy and there's a lot of pressure, that they're not overwhelmed because they've got, the basics down pat. With us, I know Sarah's going to be doing a crash course of our full team on all our customer service clients, even though they work on it literally every day. People are cross-channel. We share so that, there's always coverage. But, her and I both agreed we still want to make sure that we have retrained them so there's no, issues, and we're just prepared. Like, better be prepared than to not be. The big one that I really believe in, and this is why I think InSocial as a partner for any business that we work with is, we stand above the rest, is we really believe in that marketing transparency. So for some of our clients, we just do customer service, but for a lot of them, we actually are their full marketing department. I actually know one of our clients is here, Manny. From Sassy Bottle. We did his website, we actually did his product design, his branding, we're doing his social, and now we're starting him up on customer service, and that was a really fun one. But for us, you need to be able to know everything that's happening at different touch points. And when we work with clients who have other teams, or they're doing their own social, or their own email, or whatever is going on, usually it always leads back to customer service. If you have an ads team, like if we're not running the ads for you, but we're answering comments, especially if they're coming in through Gorgias, we're seeing that. And a lot of the time, it could be about a sale. And if someone asks a specific question on a Facebook ad about a sale, and we're at the first time being like, this is news to us, it has happened, that means we have to add more time just to figure out what's going on, see who we have to talk to, collect the information, and then train our staff. And now we're behind on answering that person because we have to tell them, we'll get back to you. We hate the "we'll get back to you." We should never be using the "we'll get back to you." If anyone on your team is doing that, you need to figure out why that was even a response, because that person should have the response ready to go. There should be no holes or empty gaps of that information. So for us, we need to know what's going on, and your full team should know what's going on, especially your customer service team, so that they can properly triage and give contextual answers to actually help the customers. The other thing for us is we like to work backwards. So our CS team is on the ground. There's some, we'll go into some more examples a little bit later, but if the CS team is seeing something that's happening, we need them to tell the rest of our team if we're handling it, or tell the client to tell their third party what we're seeing, right? With the trends, especially as Nicole mentioned, tagging specific, issues. If a lot of people are talking about a social post that they weren't happy with, we're going to flag that, and we'll be able to see based on the tags what's coming out. Like I said, outsource to the right agencies. If you are going outsourced, please vet them, test them, ask them, all about their experience, give them, specific situations to answer. And just don't get yourself in a spot where you've hired someone 3 weeks out of Black Friday and they aren't able to pick up the information and build a process in time. Like, we're cutting it close here. And shifts. Again, as I mentioned, if it's in-house, figure out how you can build your team around shifts. If, you can ask your, junior digital marketing team member to stay on the weekend, but then, her senior manager will stay on another day. Just make sure you're really looking at that coverage, because you will find that the tickets will add up, and then it kind of slows everything down for everyone else. So that's a big piece of the staffing.
Awesome. And I think we got some great questions as well. Hannah says, any tips for getting marketing to share their plans in detail? This is an opportunity for growth for us that's frustrating to the CS team. And Hannah, my only follow-up question is what part of it is frustrating? And is it because there's like a difference between responsibilities? Or I would love to kind of dive a little deeper into that.
Are you going to put her on stage?
Hannah, do you want to come on stage? We can invite you on stage.
Yes. Nicole, I can take this if you like. Perfect. I did answer that there. No problem, Hannah. No pressure. So we do plan a month in advance, but also months in advance. We're always thinking about high and future level recommendations, but always thinking about the next month following. So if you're specifically setting a meeting for the CS team to strategize month to month, that's a great time to outline questions that you have. You can actually share your strategy with other teams, maybe have them have that understanding, but then also that's a great opportunity to send them all your questions. And then if they're unresponsive, which, we've worked with third-party teams that sometimes, they don't answer your emails, but keep hammering it home with the following up until you get answers. That's what we're really good at. And that's what the CS team is for too. So definitely just outline your questions in advance and then hammer it home until you get some answers.
And I think one other thing just on top of that is really, I'm not sure which part of the business you are in if you're managing a customer service team, but is really explaining to whoever you need that information of what the benefit of you having it is. They may say, oh, you don't need to know about our ad strategy because, you guys can't understand it. It's not worth the time. But realistically, like if they understand that knowing the copy and knowing the sale that is going to come out and how that impacts them, that's where, those plans can be set in place and you're prepared, right? So just maybe tell them why you need to know, and then set a meeting to go over it, or, at least hope they send an email with details. I see you oversee the CS team. Yes. So whoever you need information from, just explain, what the benefit of having that information is, and I think they'll see.
I also think they should definitely, and I often get either ops people who are managing the support teams or marketing on the calls. And I think that they're just so intertwined now, like everything coming in via Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even Twitter, that's all directly related to support. If someone is not happy, they're going to come to those platforms. And so while, marketing is pushing all this stuff out, I think we saw this during the pandemic, they were actually pushing out the wrong message. And I think a lot of brands lost a lot of trust and loyalty with their brands because they're like, how could you promote this right now? This isn't appropriate. There's a huge shift in messaging that needs to happen. And I think you have so much, a great example I would like to, that you should share is, if you think about, Theragun, I like this example because they used to be totally about working out outside, going to the gym with friends, massaging after with friends and with your trainer. And then they moved to being your own in-house personal masseuse. Now, I don't know exactly what your brand is, but I think that messaging is so aligned with what people are feeling or what we're feeling at home, at home alone kind of. And if you just continue to have that message of go work out with friends, it's not going to be received very well. So that's why I think support and marketing have to be so aligned, because support knows even more of what's going on than what even marketing is doing. And I think that's where you have to have a discussion of who handles those support inquiries, because with Gorgias, you can manage it all from our view within a couple of minutes. And, us and the InSocial team give you best practices to turn on negative comments, social questions, social leads. And I'll kind of get into that in my next couple slides here to show you how easy it is to set that up and how easy it is for your support team to manage. But of course, making sure that marketing maybe comes on a call just to see what it's about would be really helpful. And I think, so how do we drive revenue? I think that takes us into our next topic is with support, and same with, Facebook and all these different channels we're talking about, is the conversion rate actually for pre-sale chats or SMS responded in less than 10 minutes is 28%. So the quicker you can respond, AKA marketing wants all these conversions on, your ad spend. How to really do that is making sure support is responding to them in a quick and efficient manner. So it goes hand in hand. And what we saw, and I think you guys have a slide here, I'm just going to quickly move to ours before we touch on yours, is what you can see here is out of 500 pre-sale tickets, so that means customer inquiries that haven't been customers within the last 30 days, or they're entirely new customers, about a half converted when you responded within 2 minutes and 8 seconds. So again, if support doesn't know what's going on with your ads or what's going out with marketing, and you don't have visibility over that, it's going to be really hard to drive down that first response time and get that conversion for those ads that they want and conversion that they want in general. So these are really great statistics to bring to your team to show them exactly how you can actually drive conversion. And we actually give you a revenue statistic with Gorgias as well to understand what revenue should be attributed. And sometimes it's almost the equivalent of a 5% increase in ad spend. So again, super important to know that your support team should be your sales team, because they're the ones dealing with all the stuff marketing is putting out, but also a great way for you guys to partner up as well. And then, I think, you guys from your end also have a great example of really, why is your CS team your sales team?
Awesome. So just as Nicole said, response time is key. It's similar to when you're in a store. If, a sales associate in the store is, in the back room and you've already been there for 10 minutes, by the time they come out, probably don't want to talk to them. So it's the same thing, making sure you're available to respond quickly, both on tickets and chats. Again, remembering that chats are mimicking the in-store experience. Sales training. So a lot of the time, and Hannah, maybe this is for you too, is the CS team is really undervalued a lot of the time as your sales team. Like in retail, in stores, you have your customer service team in the store trying to sell products. It's the same thing here. We call them our digital support squad. They are our sales team. Of course they have to answer post-purchase, but there's an opportunity for them to also drive revenue. And I know Sarah particularly loves going in and snoozing tickets where we've helped someone via chat and then checking if it's converted. Like that's the kind of thing we like to do and keep an eye on and learn from that and see what's happening. And I know she has an example where we actually have a client who is not on Gorgias. We're working on it. But we're literally giving quotes to their leads that come in. So we are their sales team. And I think that that's a big piece to understand is don't discount them and hire for that role. Find that balance between a young person who, can do the customer hour sort of work without, getting frustrated about the level that they're at, but also having enough common sense, critical thinking skills, and the ability to absorb that sales training to convert where possible. This is the best one. We run drills. Highly recommend you do that too, and test your team and how they're doing. Like, ask them, like, try and get them to see if they're going to sell you a product. See how they're answering your tough, product questions, and do a blind. Don't tell them you're coming. Sarah does it. She often doesn't even tell them that she has done it. But if there's feedback in there, she'll let them know. But test your own team. See how they're doing. I'm trying to speed through. So there's a couple more examples that I'll get Sarah to talk about in a second. Prompting your customers. So this is a good thing to do, again, with the chat. Use chat campaigns on Gorgias. So again, retail experience, your sales associate's going to go up and talk to someone. Online, we can't just start a chat with the internet. Like, we can't just start talking to random people on your website. But the chat campaigns allow things to pop up and prompt the customers to start a conversation, which then leads into a pre-purchase conversation a lot of the time, depending on how you set the settings. So really leveraging that where possible, and then being prepared, of course, to have that pre-sales conversation. This is a big one, and I think that this also gets discounted a lot. Again, Hannah, for you and the value of your team is use the feedback of the website and bring that up to your development team. If people are coming through chat and they're asking how to use the website, your customer support team needs to know that that's an issue. They need to be able to identify those trends. I know with Domestify, I'm going to tell this example, Sarah, I love it. Domestify's target market is closer to the 60, 70-year-old range, and we'll get customers just literally typing checkout in the chat. So it's a good website. We didn't build it, but that's where you can really identify how people are engaging with the site. And anyone who's in e-commerce knows that your website has to be optimized to convert those sales, and your customer support team is going to be able to identify those issues if people are asking questions. And again, you can use tagging for that as well. And then communication channels. So again, let me get back to you. We don't ever want to say that because of the first response time. Everything ties together. If we have to tell someone we'll get back to them, and we have to get a question from the marketing team or our client to answer that question, we've probably lost a sale. So building those communication channels. A lot of the time in our Slack account, we have clients in there, like Manny is in our Slack account, and we can message him if a question comes up. We have other clients that literally, if there's a weird shipping issue, we'll send them a note and they're there and they're able to answer. Now, that's not for everyone. Not all of our clients like to be in Slack and talk to us all the time, but making yourself available or making your team available to know that if there's an issue that is really random and could cost a sale, who do we go to? And, don't ignore our emails, right? That's a big thing. All right.
Okay, perfect. I didn't know if Sarah was jumping in with any examples or anything. But yeah, all 5 of those, I think exactly how you just mentioned is super important. And yes, we have about 12 minutes left, so we'll definitely get through. I think the last piece is really about this omni-channel experience. So be everywhere. So again, back to Hannah's point about, figuring out like how to be on every single channel doesn't necessarily mean like if you don't have the bandwidth, you can't handle it. Again, that's where automation and machine learning can be your best friend. And I think with those channels, I'll get into them a little bit after once you guys kind of share, but making sure that you're where your customers are, because it's ever changing every single day. Everything used to be via email. Now it's everything you can do from your phone. So making sure that you're aware of those channels, and because you could be missing out on revenue exactly when you're not available on those channels, but not to scare you that you need to be on everything. I think it's just understanding who your customer is, and are they callers? Are they texters? Are they Facebook messengers? Are they Instagrammers? What are they? And yeah, I would love to hear from your guys, what your perspective is from working with so many brands.
So the omni-channel experience is really important to us. We call it our full circle approach, where, as we've been basically saying this whole time, everything is connected and you need to embrace that. Don't segment your teams into their own silos, because you're going to miss an opportunity. So one of the big things, and this is really focused on the customer, and kind of an example here is, you notice when you're chatting with us, we're answering all of your chats, all of your questions. We want to talk to you, and this is the methodology that we have with our clients. We need to talk to the customers, and we need to go everywhere they are. So a lot of the time, especially if there's unhappy comments, which obviously is going to happen, people will not only comment on a Facebook ad, they may tweet at you. There may be a TikTok comment, they may come through email. And for us, we want to make sure we're following them along everywhere that they are. So when we respond to them, we actually respond to them in every place. So where we, respond across touch points. If they're on Facebook, we're going to respond on Facebook. We're also going to respond on Twitter. We're also going to respond via email. But what we also do, and this is something that I'm really proud of, is our team knows to mention all these other places. So, oh, thanks for your Facebook comment. We saw your tweet. This is the answer to your question. Feel free to email us. And if they email, we say, oh, thanks for emailing us from our Facebook comment. Really glad that you reached out. And so not only does the customer, identify that we're actually paying attention to them, a lot of the time, if they're angry, this just kind of throws them off, and they're like, oh, wow, you actually are wanting to help me because you've answered my question basically everywhere. You're watching where I am. It's not creepy. I don't think we've ever had anyone be like, this is weird. Most of the time it diffuses angerness. The other thing too is, if a customer is complaining in multiple places, there's different potential customers that are seeing you. Someone, may see a tweet but not be on Facebook, and vice versa. So it's your opportunity to be in every spot and making sure that that conversation is cohesive for that main customer through the whole place, through every touch point, but that everyone else, wherever they may be, sees your interaction. And like I said, that makes them feel heard. Don't forget to engage with happy customers. It's a little bit of time, whether it's, in-house time or outsourced time, but it makes the world of difference. And this is an example, Sarah, I'm going to get you to tell, because I love this example.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have quite a following with our client Pizza Forno. They're an automated pizza oven. So with this, we do get people tweeting and ask us where the different ovens are located. And we had one location in particular that was for, it was a truck stop. So we did have a woman who let us know that she stopped by and she really enjoyed it, and then started tagging her friends on Twitter, and everyone was getting excited about this. And then so we went out of our way to acknowledge that, and then we decided to give her free pizza for a year. So she literally got a code where she could go and redeem 52 pizzas for the next year, got super excited, and now our Twitter has completely blown up with truck drivers who love Pizza Forno. So it really builds a community, and that's what we're always looking to do.
I love that.
So don't discount them.
Oh my gosh, I want free pizza for a year. I'm ready for your next viral take. That's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah, and I think, coming back to the full circle approach, and this is Hannah's our mascot, I guess, for this webinar today. Right. But we actually switched I switched how InSocial runs, where it used to be that the person who was writing content for social was also managing comments. But I switched that so that our digital support squad is doing the social comments. Of course, there's that conversation so that the person writing the content communicates with our support squad to know, what's happening, and it informs their content writing. But because of the type of questions and the type of conversations that we're having that are happening on social, it just made a lot more sense to have the support team come in and take that on. And so really tying those pieces together, because there's more likely a conversation on a social comment related to something customer service based than vice versa. So, really make sure that that team can be in as many places as possible, or at least have a touch point to someone on the marketing team or anywhere else. But be everywhere. That's the moral of the story.
Awesome. I love that. And I'm going to get into my next point there. Exactly how you were saying is being everywhere also means making sure that you're answering questions before they even hit your site. So, sometimes you don't actually have to manage a support ticket if you can easily avoid it. And that means running chat campaigns. So Gorgias comes with chat. You don't have to pay for it. Additionally, it comes with every single plan. And what you can do, this is an example of a shoe company we worked with. So shoe company that we worked with, and they had a ton of different returns based on shoe size. So what we did is we launched the chat on that specific shoe page, on different shoe pages. Hey, we recommend you usually go half a size up. Now what that does is it eliminates that question that's already being asked. What is the size? What should I wear? Do I return this? And now you have a better understanding of what exactly that customer feels when they've already tried, the shoe, and that's the feedback that they've gotten. The other thing that you can do is you can highlight a review. Maybe someone can say, hey, this person loved it to go out, or they paired it with this. You can also create a fashion consultant. You can create that dialogue with your customer so they feel loved, and so that they feel like they're being heard, and that they're not spending 10 minutes waiting for a response because you only have a couple seconds to really grab their attention. And so maybe they're coming exactly for a specific question. Maybe you know your customer is all about free faux leather, cruelty-free faux leather. So like, if you understand that's your customer, make sure you have an objection busting statement like that grabs their attention so that they know and they reaffirm exactly why they're there. Same thing can go on the cart page where we see a lot of abandoned carts. So making sure that you're kind of minimizing the amount of customers that actually don't purchase with you and making sure that you're upselling them with a promo code for the final free shipping offer that you can give to make sure that they close. The next thing I'll talk about is Facebook Messenger. So when we're talking about marketing and they're running all these ads, the best thing you can do is filter them into a customer support flow so that you can drive that conversion. That is a great best practice. That is going to allow you that individual attention with that customer, and it'll help you guide that entire customer experience. So we have them offer a promo code rather than just swiping up, which is really hard to convert sometimes. You can actually convert them by having a conversation with them and probably have more success actually having a conversation with someone and guiding them through that entire purchasing process. Get your offers out. I think this holiday period we've seen, people are looking for offers. A lot of people have been laid off. This is a really crazy time. And so they're always looking for the best deal that they can get. With social and integrating that onto your site and having support handle that, you can actually activate not just one customer, but you can activate more than a couple that are tagging each other. So here you see Megan tags Kimberly and she says, oh my God, we need. Now you can tag them back and offer them both a 10% promo code. Now you might have 2 purchases and 2 sales instead of just 1. If I buy, can I return it? Absolutely, 30 days. We also have an awesome Black Friday promo. So again, making sure you're upselling, having your support team be trained on, give them every offer they could imagine that you can afford, of course, so that they know exactly what they're getting. And they, I always see that offer at the end of an email and I'm like, maybe I'll just check what else they have. It really does work, as simple as it sounds. Prioritizing comments. So again, managing your support in the best way. Thanks to our machine learning system, we can identify what is the sentiment. So different from intent. Intent is intention. Sentiment is going to be the tone. Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it a social question? How can we differentiate these so that your support team is going in every day knowing exactly how to manage their support tickets, and prioritizing their comments based on these 3 different categories. And I think that, we have a couple minutes left here, so definitely want to get to this and hear your guys' 2 cents, but also want to be conscious of time as well.
Okay, I'll run through it really quickly.
Yes.
Just specifically on the comments are key. I always have to tell our clients, if you are running ads and people are commenting on them, you are paying for people to see those comments. So if they are negative and you're ignoring them, again, get your CS team or even your social team or whoever's running your ads, be on those comments, because if it's negative, you're paying for everyone to see those. So get in there. And then Gorgias has a great way to triage negative comments. We can set up filters, and that means we go straight to the negative comments. We can hide them directly in Gorgias, especially if we've got a ton of things happening. You hide, and then you go back and you reply to all of them. A big thing with crisis management too is take conversations off of social. So if there's a negative comment about an order or something's wrong with the product, it happens. Really get them to say, they'll email you, say, hey, I'm here, we see you, come email us. We can only really handle the issue via email anyway, and then take them away from that public channel. So comments are often forgotten as part of the customer service piece, but they really are key, especially as Nicole said, how things are changing. And again, personalization. I saw you here, or, we saw you on the comment. Thanks for emailing us, diffuse the situation, but also on the comments, especially on ads, don't use the macros. That's a big thing that sometimes people get wrong is, I have a macro for this question that all these comments on the Facebook ad are saying, but then you just paste the macro and everyone can actually see that. So if your ad is basically showing everyone you're saying the same thing over and over again, because people will comment the same thing over and over again, that happens. But as they scroll through and they see the same replies from you, it takes away that authenticity of your brand. So still say the same response because it's the right answer, but tweak it to that person, tag them back, add a different emoji if it's on brand for you, but just, slide that extra level in there. Okay. That was it for that.
That was quick. I loved it. That was great. That was super, super quick. I think, those are great best practices, and definitely you know exactly who to reach out to talk to you about that. So the last piece we'll talk about is adding SMS. That's really the final component is SMS is huge. The click rate is about 90%. So making sure that you're actually getting through those through to those channels is really important, because people will comment. You can send a nice gift. You can make it really personalized. For Gorgias, we are trusted by almost now 4,500 merchants. Super exciting. Since March, we've had a huge boom from our 3,000 customers, so it's really exciting. These are some of our bigger clients, and we work with Shopify, Magento, and BigCommerce. And last but not least, we'll talk about you guys. I know you have a case study here at the end. Would love for you guys to kind of just wrap it up with some great final points.
Okay, awesome. So this is just Thigh Society. Not going to run through it because there's a lot here. We basically worked with them for 4 years, built them up from 400 Instagram followers to $16,000 million business. And customer service was a key point of that. This was actually the client where I realized we needed to take customer service in-house because of how those conversations were happening, especially with, this is a thigh chafing product. So this was the key for me, really take on the customer service arm as part of the business. So you can look through it. But I think the biggest thing that I want to get across from this presentation is, we really pride ourselves on building, again, that full circle approach to customer service. And whether you want to talk to us about how we can, work together, or even just come and ask questions, like, feel free to reach out to us. We love this stuff, and nothing bothers, I know I'm saying this for Sarah, but nothing bothers us more than a bad customer service experience. Like, we'll literally send experiences to each other and complain about them, but then learn from them as well. So we're happy to chat with you and just hear what you're dealing with. And I know we have, I think, 2 more polls that are a little about how you're feeling after you heard us speak. So if Nicole, if you want to put those through, yes, and then we can get the sentiment.
Perfect. So one is, what do you currently need most help with? And then how do you feel about your customer service going right now? So these are the final 2 polls. If you guys have time, I know you probably have 1 p.m. meetings. I'm on Eastern, so I don't know where everyone is, but our meetings right now. So definitely thank you guys so much for coming. And the last thing I'll say is check out what your customer or your competitors are doing. See how well they're managing their support. It takes a single ticket to really ask them to, so that you can kind of understand, what they're doing right. And maybe that's something you can definitely work with. And this Thigh Society case study is so great. We'll definitely share the deck with those who requested after. And my email is nicole@gorgias.com. Super easy. You'll get a month off for joining the webinar. So definitely let me know. And we have one month free for joining the webinar.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll chat soon. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Sweet. Have a good one.